People always say there are two Russias. One is the city we are looking at. She should be described as the biggest city in Russia or even in continental Europe, the coldest and most expansive metropolis. Beautiful and unpredictable, she is the one we call Moscow. It is a quiet morning, except the giant Christmas tree and ornamental lamps. Nothing indicated this day is anything unique. To join the stream of people to the metro, we can easily conceal ourselves among the crowd. Moscow Metro, a metro system since 1935, which is famous for its art, murals, mosaics and ornate chandeliers. Till 2016, there are 12 lines, 203 stations underneath the Moscow city, since the Soviet Union built the system initially. 339.1 kilometer route length make Moscow Metro the fifth longest in the world. Unlike the quiet morning, after the night falls, the streets become unusually crowded. No cars on the street. Everyone's walking. All shops are closed for business. There are no alien attack or World War III today, just one end and one beginning. It's the New Year's Eve. Talking about the New Year, once a drunk young man took a wrong plane to another city. Missed the date with his girlfriend, but came across another pretty woman by wrongly entered her house. Because they live in the same street, the same building and the same room number, except in two different cities. Yes, it's the film called The Irony of Fate, Ирония судьбы с легким паром. After a series of coincidences and misunderstandings, the young man and a woman, who seemed to lose their fiancé, fell in love with one another, which we can call the irony of fate. Fate becomes a popular topic ever since the Greek tragedies. But interesting thing is, people for thousands of years almost never prayed to God of fate. Perhaps the human itself is the sacrifice for fate. We can do nothing but take courage, get prepared and experience our own life. To escape from the reality is simple, but do we really need escapism? At least we can escape from the serious topic for a short while. In the New Year Eve, to celebrate the universal festival, everyone, including foreign guests. Probably not everyone. The police officers, the bus drivers, those heroes who guard the city people, they're always busy for these days. The guards for the fire of the unknown soldier are also on duty. The forever burning fire is to memorize the past patriots and enlighten the way to the future. This melody sounds so familiar to many Chinese. Расцветали яблони и груши, поплыли туман река. Katyusha, which is the small name of BM-13 rocket launcher and the name of a song of the Red Army. We heard it from time to time through Soviet movies, from our parents and from history books. Too many events occurred in the last 100 years. For China, it turned into a modern society from a semi-colonial and semi-feudal country. For Russia, from 1917 to 2017, in the same 100 years, this country has gone through the imperialism, socialism and capitalism. The nation once united to win the Great Patriotic War, but fell apart because of complicated reasons. Countless wars and conflicts took place here, although we hope no more wars on earth. The war to protect one's homeland should always be recognized as sacred. But there are several questions that still bother. If a Bolshevik grandpa died in the war, and his grandson who believed in God in the Orthodox Church, the question is, which heaven are they going to meet one another after life? Bolshevik heaven or Christian heaven? How many heavens are above them? And how would 70 years atheism belief affect the tradition of an Orthodox country? In 1966, a talented Soviet director named Andrei Tarkovsky made an epical film, Andrew Rublev. The movie is not exactly a biography about one talented monk or about creating holy icons, but it's all about the history, Russia's history, and humanity's history. Rublev existed as the symbol of his time, the 15th century, the time when Russia was influenced, touched by the renaissance of his Christian art and frequently invaded by Tatars. Rublev advocates to lead the people who live in the dark back to the road of salvation by love, to remind they're still humans, those Russians. Although his perspective was interrupted for years by Tatars' invasions, he regained it by his inner conflicts, by his continuous praying, and by the inspiration of the boy and the church bells. Eventually, he offered us his masterpiece, the Saint Trinity. It is otherwise called the icon of Philoxenia, the hospitality of Abraham. This icon of the Holy Trinity was once commissioned to honor the Saint Sergius of Radonezh for the monastery of the Holy Trinity, which is now located in the town of Sergiev Posad. Actually, we don't know much about Andrei Rublev. Most of these scenes come from director's compositions of what might have been, of what could happen. No one is sure about the age he lived, about the darkness he lived in and that he was going through. But sometimes one must ignore the facts to see the truth. Practically or artistically, nobody can know for sure about the details of historical events, but what we can know for sure is that Andrei Rublev existed because we have his masterpiece, the incarnated Holy Trinity of Philoxenia. After celebrating New Year, let's have a look at another Russia. Not so modern, luxurious and crowded. Vladimirka, the name of this painting, is also the same name as the road which Dostoevsky once took to be exiled to Siberia. In the first chapter of his House in the Dead, Dostoevsky wrote,
В отдаленных краях Сибири, среди степей, гор или непроходимых лесов
попадаются изредка маленькие города с одной, много с 2000 жителей, деревянные, невзрачные, с 2 церквами, одной в городе, другой на кладбище. Города похожие были на хорошее подмосковное село, чем на город. Before Dostoevsky, another important group were exiled here, who were political prisoners, aristocratic revolutionists and poets, so-called the Decembrists. Many of Decembrists are aristocrats and elites of military officers at the time of early 18th century. They realized that their country needed to be changed. Decembrist revolt took place on the 14th of December 1825 at the Senate Square to protest the ascension of Nicholas I. They were brutally repressed by the new Tsar and got arrested, convicted, executed, and many got exiled. Over 120 of them were sentenced to exile to work in Siberian mines to devote their lives to the broad land. Although Decembrists had an aristocratic background, their purpose was against their own class, which is to abolish the privileges and the noble system. They sacrificed their lives to attempt to save Russia by keeping it with the trend of history. However, the noble persons were not just the revolutionists. They were husbands with their wives who followed them to Siberia. Although the Tsar declared a law that said wives of exiled Decembrists were regarded as widows, allowing them to marry again and go on with their lives. But many of the loyal wives followed their husbands to Siberia. They gave away the noble identity and sacrificed everything to defend their love. They had faith, they had loyalty, and they had an inner call that allowed them to tolerate all the difficulties throughout the roads and everyday difficulties on their life in Siberia. The Decembrist movement failed, but on the other hand, they brought science and culture to the barbaric virgin land. Many of their wooden houses are preserved till now. And the revolt began to rumble the society, and eventually, many people believe, led to the Great October Socialist Revolution in 1917. The Museum for Decembrists is located in the city of Irkutsk, one of the largest cities in Siberia. The road cross of tradeways in one place, near the Mongolian border. In early 19th century, Irkutsk became a major center for exiled people, for Decembrists. Since then, people of various backgrounds settled here and strongly influenced the city's culture. It is no longer a remote area for prisoners, but an important commercial center for its timber and mineral resources. Little by little, Irkutsk eventually became a booming center in eastern Siberia. The city is situated on the Angura River, the river that flows from the Lake Baikal, the largest freshwater lake in the world. The Lake Baikal has the typical long crescent shape with a surface area of over 31,000 square kilometers. It is considered as the deepest, clearest, oldest and largest freshwater lake in the world, with the maximum depth of over 1,600 meters and 23,615 cubic kilometers of fresh water, drinkable. Every year from January to May, the surface of the lake would be frozen. And usually from early February, when the ice is thick enough, one can drive on the ice road to the biggest island of the Lake Baikal, which is Olkhon Island, Baikal's heart. Less than 2,000 Russians and Buryats live there. Compared to the small population, tourism is rapidly developed in the recent years. Especially, it is seen in the village called Huzhir, which is the capital of the island. Many family hostels are opened recently. Hosts are all very hospitable and warm-hearted. The only problem is communication, the languages which are not spoken everywhere. Although there are exceptions, English is still not a universal language over here. Russian and Buryat language are spoken everywhere. For men and women are not only themselves, they are also the region in which they were born, the city apartment, a farm which they learned to walk, the games they played as children, the old wives' tales they overheard, the food they ate, the schools they attended, the sports they followed, the poets they read, and the gods they believed in. It is these things that have made them what they are, and these are the things that you can't come to know by hearsay.
It's about a woman.
To live with them under the same roof, to try the taste of their food, to watch their children playing, to listen to the familiar melody with unfamiliar lyrics, to sit in the car to watch the landscapes, or stay out to become the landscape. It is hard to count how many things you can do here. Traveling could be taking pictures or checking in our social website, but also can be experiences of a totally different life or sensing the poetic feelings arising. About 5 minutes walk, we are able to reach Cape Burhan and find the Baikal's most famous landmark, the Shaman Rock. It is a famous place where thousands of visitors come here for it every year. Besides, it is also a holy place for Buryats. According to their legend, Olkhon is the place where the severe spirit of Baikal lives. Usually he appears in the image of white-headed golden eagle, who is also the ruler and protector of this whole area. Olhon Island is the largest island of Lake Baikal. The cape which resembles a woman's profile is called Cape Hoboy, the northern part of Olhon Island. Beside it, there are several other islands. Most of them even don't have electricity and are not inhabited. There is a big wooden cross on the Zamogoy Island. It was set by the local Cossacks and the fisherman Anatoly as a sign for the future hermitage or maybe a monastery. Later on, the cross was consecrated by the Orthodox priest came from the central part of Russia. The monks who came from the Mount Athos gave a blessing to build a monastery in that land. Somehow Lake Baikal has become more and more sacred for shamanic Buddhist and the Orthodox Christians. There are two great films about Siberia. Both are made by the members of one family but by two different directors. Andrei Konchalovsky made the film of Siberia, and Nikita Mikhalkov made the film of The Barber of Siberia. The films somehow make people feel difficult to imagine the directors are siblings from the same family. Siberia is an epic of unknowns who live in Siberia. The storyline spreads over 60 years and shows how the time and political regimes influenced the life and environment of Siberia. Although the second part can be recognized as another film, which seems in a patriotic style, but a revisionist way. The first part is still rather poetic, sometimes even showed the thrilling pagan beauty along with the love and beliefs. On the other hand, the story of the Barber of Siberia occurred by the end of the 19th century in the center of Russia, but at the end, the lovers failed to meet again in Siberia. It could be taken as love tragedy literally. Meanwhile, also be seen as an ukiyo of late 19th century, an elegy of the lost days, an admiration of eternal beauty of music. Konchalovsky immigrated to America from the 80s, while Mikhalkov stayed in Russia. Cosmopolitan versus nostalgic, cynical versus patriotic. What makes the chasm between the two brothers? Probably it can be traced back to the glorious but complicated family history, a hybrid of aristocratic and communist family, finally led the brothers to separate ways. But no one can deny the two films' outstanding performance, as no one can deny Mozart is a great composer. Even after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Russia remains the biggest country in the world. To take a glimpse of its broadness, it is not easy, let alone to understand its profoundness as a passenger. Let's quote Tolstoy's conclusion in War and Peace. Француз бывает самоуверен потому, что он почитает себя лично, как умом, так и телом, непреодолимо обворожительным как для мужчин, так и для женщин. Англичанин самоуверен на том основании, что он есть гражданин благоустроеннейшего в мире государства. И потому, как англичанин знает всегда, что ему делать нужно, и знает, что все, что он делает, как англичанин, несомненно хорошо. Итальянец самоуверен потому, что он взволнован и легко забывает о себе и о других. Русский же самоуверен именно потому, что он ничего не знает и знать не хочет, потому что не верит, чтобы можно было вполне знать что-нибудь. Voilà.